50, 60% liberal whining about third world this and third world that and yada yada yada. And but anyway, one of the shows that's been on for years I really like is Marketplace. It has no agenda, none whatsoever. But they were doing a piece on the and they do long pieces on the future of the effect of AI on the economy, the economic boom of AI, and it's astronomical and it's hyperbolic right now. I mean, the jobs that will be created in the construction and the enormous use of energy. So, first thing I thought about is people like Stan and me and whatever that if we were around in 1910 and we were as vehemently in support of AI as people were of oil back then, Stan would be a drill baby drill because the people I hear on AI are drill baby drill. No matter what the cost, no matter what, forget the environmental cost. We need this at all costs. And there are huge economic and environmental and socioeconomic costs to this AI boom.
Do you mean you weren't alive and kicking in 1910?
I wish yeah, I wish. Well, I am through my grandparents.
That
My
was
grandmother was
a joke, and you took me
no, no, no,
seriously.
no.
I'm so
No,
sorry. I'm
I
sorry.
both, Bob. I live in the past, as well as the future, and the thought that my maternal grandparents were born in 1895 and 1898, and my grandmother saw the invention of cars and saw man walk on the moon in her lifetime is unbelievable.
Do you have any videos you want me to put up?
You're muted.
Are you talking to Bob?
Yes.
Okay. I sent you an email with with
Okay.
with all the different links
All right.
and much of the brilliance that that I was able to devote to the topic.
Um, if I could do a little bit of sort of business, um, Tom, I see you there, but you're muted. Is it possible that you recorded the videos of the meeting we had, the last meeting we had at the library? I was trying to remember who recorded that.
Did you
Who
find it,
The
Stan?
library, that was about a
Yeah.
month ago, right?
Yep,
I don't remember. I could go back and see if there's something saved there.
thank you. Um, it seems to be that I asked someone to record it who was not there on their home computer, and you were the person that came to mind. Dean?
Yeah. So who is secretary? Is that one of the office? So secretary is the one that reads the. Yeah. They're responsible for recording that stuff.
That's Tom Walsh now,
Ah, okay.
but back
Who
then
was
he
it?
was
Who was it at the
president
time?
and Tom Trites was
Yeah.
secretary, and they switched positions.
I
And
got
I
you.
also
Old
have
business, new business, all that stuff. Yeah.
I also have mixed up and have two presenters for the same date. So Dean and Carol, I was wondering if one of you might be able to switch weeks for presenting. On October 2nd, I have you and Carol both scheduled, Dean.
Can I have later?
That would work nicely for me.
That would work
Is
nicely
it,
for me.
um, is it, um, I think the 12th is the, no.
I'm having trouble hearing you for some reason,
Yeah,
David.
I hear running water in the background somewhere with an open mic.
That's probably my sound system, which has that problem.
So if you can speak a little louder. Um,
Did that take care of the static while I was muted?
Yes.
Yeah, the water's gone.
did anything happen this week that has to do with the future that someone would like to bring to our attention?
We're
No.
not talking. We're not going to politics, right?
No, not politics. And my presentation is close enough to politics. I tried to keep it, however, as clean of that as I could.
Warren has something.
Well,
Warren.
of course, SpaceX, much more successful version this time, and they're
Good.
doing all sorts of neat stuff to help the ship survive, and it did a better job. So parts of it burn up every time that we've seen it, and then they were able to deploy some fake payload. And that was remarkable. And then both devices came down right where they wanted them.
Yep.
The water.
That's what I heard. It was 110% success.
Well, they still got some. It gets hot coming back, you know.
Oh yeah.
Well, they interestingly enough, they're leaving some tiles off to test as a test to see how well it holds up.
Well, not only they're testing different systems, like there's a method to push out methane into the stream. I saw one source that said it was methane, but somehow cooling it by pushing a gas out on the leeward side as it's coming in. And it had a very unusual burn pattern on the ship when it came in.
My raised hand isn't working. Yeah, what was that reentry? Was it Glenn? One of the early single mission.
Yeah.
Not Apollo. But anyway, where something didn't detach, and there was a fireball beyond hell, and he thought he was going to die. And there was something attached that was supposed to blow off and didn't.
Yeah.
And so it had to burn off before it got to the heat shield. And it was quite exciting because he wasn't expecting nothing but orange flames going by the little window.
Yeah, they had extra stuff in the way. Yeah.
Yeah, extra stuff.
And you said this was Glenn?
I think it was Glenn, but
okay. I'll have to look that up.
What was the original? Jog my brain. What was the original one-manned craft?
Mercury.
Mercury,
launched by Mercury.
Mercury. Yeah, it was a Mercury 3 or something like that.
Yeah, but
Does anybody know what's happening? I haven't been tracking this. What's happening to the success or lack of success of Tesla's autonomous beta that's going on?
Well, I tell you, I'm using the standard one, and it is just incredible. The new, I don't know if mine is considered the beta or not, but what they're using for the actual taxi service down in Austin.
That's what I mean.
Some other place. I haven't heard much negative about it, and boy, people like to talk negative.
Are there accidents or anything that have happened?
I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that. What happens is it gets stuck.
Yep.
It gets stuck in some situations.
Just as we do. These unusual, they got tones out and whatever, and it says, "Oh, this is not in my database. I don't know." And I'll go, "Yeah, I'm with you. It's not in my database either. I don't know where to drive. You know, the lanes are disappearing and all that." Oh yeah, and people are gonna have fun with it because there are Waymo?
Yeah.
Or the one. Anyway, there are ways to fool with it, and the kids have figured that out. You know, they have ways to dance around the street and put obstacles and whatever, and get the car to just sit there.
One of the important thing that
and
they're
that's
finding out is that like the Tesla, it will not read hand signals from a police officer. It's not going to run the police officer over, run him over. But this is why it still has to be supervised.
You're kidding. You mean it won't see this?
No.
A police officer, well, that could be any construction person.
Yeah, that's right. They're not going to, it's right now. And
that is a defect in materials and or workmanship.
No, they work out all these things.
Yeah.
I mean, amazing what they've worked out. I tell you,
but that's okay. But that's no one else has heard anything else that is negative, and everything else seems to be going along.
Yeah, not a lot. Not a lot of negative. Yep.
I tell you, I have a negative story for you. I was using it to go to the hospital over earlier this week,
mm-hmm.
and it was from my home to the hospital that I needed to go to, and I shut it down just at the wrong time. I made a left turn on a red light, and it would not have done that. But because I shut the system off because I was at my destination, and I should have not done that.
I see.
And that is exactly why. Well, I love to drive. I've been driving since I was 10 years old. That's the first time I got in a car by myself. Actually, my brother was there with me, and yeah, I'd like to drive, and I do love the assisted driving assistance. Yeah, I need assistance, and I like the assistance, and I can always tell the Teslas that are virtually autonomous because they drive in a certain way, and I tend to hang around with them because they're predictable. I know what they're going to do because human drivers are unpredictable.
Yep.
Yeah, and I kind of like them, and I go, okay, I'm gonna emulate you, and be a little more like you, and yeah, I can mix it up with if I'm in a line of Teslas, I'm perfectly happy. Yeah, but my problem is when I turn off the auto braking regen, I got to remember to not just hover my foot over the brake, but actually be prepared because every couple of days I actually have to hit the brakes, because
your battery's at 100% or something,
or whatever. I don't know. It got confused or whatever. But yeah, I probably didn't have to hit the brakes, but I try to maintain the same distance that the Mini maintains on the freeway, which is enough to let two cars in front of you. And I'm happy with that. I don't care who gets in front of me. You got there 3 milliseconds before I did, so who cares? But I do like have always liked the driver assist.
Oh yeah, that's amazing. Yeah,
and everybody kind of needs assist or should have it to prevent you from doing something stupid. And my niece bought years ago a VW. What's the big one? The big SUV.
Taekwon or something?
No.
Doesn't matter the name of it.
Atlas.
Okay.
And she said, I bought a new Atlas, and I shrugged, and she laughed.
I guess it does matter what the name was. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, she didn't know for about 2 months. She go, what's this? She brought it back in, and she said, the thing is not cornering right, and it's keeping you in the lane, girl. Yep.
Okay, so David, tell us why this is important. David? Okay.
I'm not sure that it's particularly important, but it is an interesting random bit.
Okay.
This apparently is from Finland through Next Big Future, and it represents silicon that's purified to 99.39s, I believe, and they're separating silicon 26 from silicon 27, which seems incredible to me that it would make much difference. But apparently it minimizes the thermal noise at 1 degree Celsius. 1 degree absolute.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Kelvin.
the idea that you would use purified silicon to minimize thermal noise at that kind of purity, but then you would use that it would produce less heat and produce qubits at almost absolute zero.
Could this make a difference in the large data centers that we're building that need so much power?
Well, exactly.
But then you got to have the
indication.
power for the absolute zero. You don't get that for free.
Exactly.
Well, that's for
Well,
quantum.
but
That's
that's
for
for free.
quantum.
But the potential is that we're going to figure out ways to do the computing with less energy. That's been the trend for what is it, Moore's Law for the last 50 years, is that we produce computers with more computing capability at lower price and that use less energy. And the history has been that we over-predict how much energy it's going to take. So I don't expect that trend to stop just because we're not sure how much energy we're going to use for this new application. And there's been a new version out of China that's been around, 6 months now, that uses a lot less energy.
Right.
So that trend is probably going to continue, and it's very possible that we won't need the massive amounts of energy that they're predicting currently. It's also fairly likely that we're not done with the cost cutting that comes with solar energy. But it's not clear how long it's going to be before nuclear power can compete on price with photovoltaic solar energy.
It's pretty clear that it can't.
At least now.
That's the numbers that I've seen. Potentially, the microreactors may come down
The
in price.
SMRs are a little bit cheap. They're cheaper to produce, but not that much.
And they still haven't figured out what to do with the nuclear waste.
Yes.
The not uranium, but thorium potentially will have a lot less nuclear waste. So that's
what it is the nuclear waste isn't as long lived.
Exactly.
They could put that all into our basement. It can't get any worse than it already is. All right. So.
Oh, yes, it can.
But it won't.
David, your article looked like it was talking about quantum computing.
That's true also.
The problem that people have been predicting with Moore's Law for the last decade or so is that as transistors get smaller and smaller, quantum effects like quantum tunneling make it more difficult for them to operate at that small size. Yeah. So that's maybe where quantum computing needs to step in. But right now, quantum computing can't do all the things that standard computers do. They do some things much better, but they can't do other things as well right now. So there's still a lot of work to be done there.
I was wondering, Tom, you said certain things quantum computers can't do as well as the classical ones. Is there examples? I wasn't aware of that.
Well, I remember reading stuff about this a year ago, but I don't remember exactly which applications the digital computers still do better.
Okay. It's something I can Google. And thank you for that. with
something like
information.
cryptology and so forth, breaking keys, that's much better. Quantum computers do much better.
You know, because the hype is the quantum computers can do everything. It'll be a brave new world, singularity, and all that. So it's interesting to see there's some things that it might not be able to do as well. Thank you for that.
It could be that that's still kind of a new science, and so that as we progress, we'll find ways to overcome all the other obstacles.
I have a presentation coming up in the next, David, I saw something on Meetup that you were keeping me on the 13th. Did you decide not to do that?
No, I just haven't updated the dates yet.
Okay, but it's on microRNA.
MicroRNA?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I thought it was already a micro RNA.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there are small segments of RNA that define the quality of the cell production, which cells become muscles, which cell becomes skin tissue. They all start out in a similar structure, and then some of them branch into or become other kinds of materials or other kinds of matter. And this microRNA is a part of that restructuring, and parts of the RNA or DNA that you have stops performing, becomes silenced. They use the term silenced. And I'll be real frank, I'm not an expert in this, but I have found some interesting YouTubes on the matter that I think will explain it all. Something else I wanted to share with you is regarding new stuff, is that there's a lot of people that are looking at building data centers that can go into space, because the data centers need a lot of coolant and they need a lot of power. And in space, you have constant power and very cold environment. So there's some ideas going on with that. It may not be as large of a system that you can have, but you can have you have all the power and all the cold that you can get up there in space.
It is amazing the amount of hopes and dreams for the future that we are putting onto the tree of artificial intelligence. I hope it all bears fruit, but I'm wondering if we're doing the right thing. I think we're spending about as much money investing in data centers and artificial intelligent infrastructure as we are in every other part of our economy. It's startling.
That was exactly the point of that. It's like this, and they're saying 3 trillion per year in 5 years or something very, very rapidly. The amount of resources that are going into that is phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Well, it's 10. Do you guys want to go on to my presentation?
Yes.
I'm glad. Thank you for giving me that optimistic and positive response.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do I take control here?
Well, what do you want to do? Show your screen?
Yeah, show my screen.
Well, down at the bottom, you click share screen, and then you go up, select it. Select the screen that you want to share, and then share that.
Can you see it?
No, yeah.
More YouTube videos, says.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. So Unfortunately, what I'm going to deal with here is not technology. The reason is I don't really know much about technology. I mean, I know about it generally, but I'm certainly not a technologist, and but I do have some interesting thoughts. So I thought I would just share some quick things that I'm thinking about, and then discuss it, and then go on to some YouTube videos that give some insight into it and discuss those. Does that make sense as a kind of an agenda for people? Okay. Nora? Yes. Who's speaking?
That-
Tom?
Tom,
Yes.
admitting ignorance is the first step to wisdom.
Well, then I'm as
You-
wise I'm
you
as wise a
are-
person as ever.
You are probably ahead of 90% of the people on this planet already.
Well, thank you, Tom. So can people
I'm sorry, Bob. Can you make that more full screen? Like,
you can't see it, huh? Okay.
well, no, but I can see it, but I might have to grab it. Yeah, there's a button somewhere that you can make that slide or PowerPoint or whatever it is.
Wait a second, don't go away.
It's a Word file, Dean.
It's a Word. I've retired from Word a decade ago.
That little box on the left that says focus might be it.
Well, no, close your side light. Welcome, Robert. We don't care about that. Yeah, hit the X on that one.
Yeah,
Upper right, or upper right of the bottom screen.
right over here.
Right there. You went past. There you go.
Okay.
And then if you hit the green button on an app, whatever it is on Microsoft, you can make that full screen. But anyway, that's very.
Can you read it? Can you read it?
Yes.
Can everybody read it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. That's good enough. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks. Okay. So I'll just read it. There's a bunch of little paragraphs. As usual, I find myself less interested in technology, more drawn to psychology, sociology, politics. But I do recognize technology is crucial. Today, I want to consider what might happen to humans, both individually and socially, if technology progresses into a world with artificial intelligence is as powerful or more powerful than we currently can imagine. Can people see this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I believe that human beings, along with the groups and institutions we create, are more fragile than we realize. Far from being sturdy, we are quite the opposite. Under pressure, we tend to go insane or amok. To better understand this, I've been reading and listening to books and diatribes about the breakdown of relatively free societies facing extreme stress from economic recessions or depressions or from new technologies before we have fully considered the risks they pose. The truth seems to be that under extreme stress, we often sacrifice freedom in exchange for order, or if you prefer, safety. Today, we face the collapse of uncontrollable global debt, which makes a future economic recession or depression seem likely. Plus, we're relying on AI for our future financial stability without fully understanding its implications. At the same time, we're shifting from independent nations to interdependent multinational groups due to technologies like radio, television, the internet, smartphones, and AI. The world is becoming smaller, or as Thomas Friedman calls it, flat. If not now, then soon, global communications and its analysis through AI will be nearly instantaneous. Increasingly, autonomous AI agents are on the horizon. Last paragraph. Autocrats or dictators can exploit these technologies to destabilize societies and strengthen their power, potentially on a global scale. While this might not happen immediately, the risk is likely to increase over the next few decades, possibly resulting in a sudden and widespread takeover during a worldwide depression. Usually removing power from an effective dictatorship requires war or revolution. Although national revolutions have caused millions of deaths, a global revolution could threaten billions or even humanity's survival. The future dictator might not even be human. And that's my little diatribe. And then I thought maybe we could discuss it. Does anybody have any comments or thoughts about it?
Dean has his hand up. If I were grading that paper, I would line through the whatever it was. If you go up one, can exploit this technology to inevitably will. If you wanted to make a strong case, I mean, not can. I mean, they're already doing it. You know, it's happening now. We're seeing. You know, you click on it, fake news now. But yeah, when you generate, not of course they can, and of course they will. You will use the technology that you have available, whether that be weapons, and AI is a new weapon, and I fear it's going to be more of a weapon. The weaponized effects of AI are going to be much worse than the good stuff.
Thank you, Dean. Who is next, Tom?
I am.
Okay.
I agree with Dean on that, but that's not the extent of it. The immediate threat is maluse of AI, and that's what Dean was talking about. It's very easy now for just about anyone to make deep fakes, among other things, and to use the technology to do other things too. But beyond that, as AI reaches human intelligence and superhuman intelligence, ASI, it's likely that it will develop its own goals, different from human goals. And that's a problem, because it might consider humans an obstacle to reaching its goals. For example, if we tell AI we want to eliminate starvation in the world, okay, they could probably do that by eliminating the humans in the world, and no one's starving. You know, so we have to be very careful how we relate to AI. And I'll leave it at that. Oh, by the way, as far as quantum computing, I put a couple remarks in the chat.
I saw. Thank you. Next one is Stanley. Stan?
Well, regarding the ability to remove dictators or remove authoritative leadership in America, we are constantly being told by pundits like Bernie Sanders and so forth to vote for the type of people that we want to have as leaders. But the voting, the act of voting doesn't seem to be functioning right. And I know that this is what the Trumpers were saying back in 2020, that it wasn't working for them. And so I don't want to be that kind of voice that says, when I don't get my way, the system is broken. But I really do think the system is broken, and I think it's rigged. And
Stan, can I ask you to do something for me?
Sure.
Okay. Don't think about America. Okay? Think about the globe. Okay? Assume that a lot of nations will become more authoritarian, whether you like it or don't like it. Assume for a second that that is going to take place. Okay? Now try to think about whether or not that could become a global dictatorship. Can you think of that type of authoritarian dictatorship becoming global in reach rather than national? And do you think it's likely or unlikely?
Well, I think that you actually said this several months ago. A lot of times I've heard people report that when something really urgent needs to be taken care of, that sometimes a non-democratic government is more efficient to actually solve certain kinds of problems.
Mm-hmm.
You can describe the Chinese as being able to build super fast trains because they don't have to deal with the litigation in order to get the land to take care of it. You can think back to Paris and France and London when they were building sewers. I'm sure that it wasn't democratically interesting for a lot of the people that were being disrupted by the sewer systems that were being built, but it had to be done for the sake of the cleanliness of the society and so forth. So I think that you have to sort of look at the structural goals of the authoritarian societies. But what's happening now is that it's not benefiting the middle class. It's benefiting this benefit. It's all being done to benefit the wealthy, and I think that's true in all authoritative regimes, regardless of whether it's in the United States or not.
Thank you, Stan. I may come back with a question for you, if that's okay.
No
Tom,
problem.
is it Tom or Dean? I don't know. Let's say it's Tom. Tom.
Yeah, it's not just politics. It's that we have too much and we don't need to work hard for it. So we get to spend a whole lot of energy and time and thought about how to make other people's lives better, but we don't do that. We think about making our own lives better. And
why is that, Tom?
Because, I hate to say this, we've lost faith. We don't believe in the American, quote, quote, American ideals anymore.
And what are the American ideals?
I'm not sure. There were some that I grew up with, but when I look at them now, they were do right, help your neighbor, avoid hurting people as much as you can, treat your animals as well as you treat your family. Help your neighbors.
Do you think those are American ideals?
No.
I think those are, I'm inclined to say that they're Buddhist.
They're what?
But
Buddhist?
Buddhist ideas.
Okay.
But from somebody way back there, the Tao has it all. When the sage acts, the people say, we did it.
Okay, so thank you, Tom. We'll go to Dean and then Carol and then Wayne. Dean?
Well, Carol's ahead of me.
Okay. Carol?
Okay. I think we have a an assumption going here that the type of free and open society that we are looking for is dependent on voting. That dictatorships don't worry about voting, but the system we're aiming for does. And so anything we can do to make the process of voting, not only in this country, but in France and in Czechoslovakia and in Ulaanbaatar, more transparent and more trusted is a good thing. And I will
Real
point
quick,
out,
Jimmy Carter spent his life trying to do.
Wait, Dean, thank you so much, but
Yep.
I'm heading somewhere.
Okay.
Okay. In Minnesota, we have an incredibly reliable voting system in that it uses machines to count the votes, but there is a paper trail. In many, many states of the US and in many, many countries abroad, they depend on systems like Symantec machines where there is no paper trail. A recount just, says, was the computer working? And I would suggest that the first thing we can do to make us have a system that we can count on, a system that is not being taken over by fakers, is to have a solid, and you can always do a recount voting system, as we do have in Minnesota.
Carol,
Yes.
I want us to go at a higher level than this, okay?
I did bring in France and
I understand. Let's assume for just a second that democracies are going to degrade into autocracies and dictatorships, okay? And that no matter how fail-safe or not fail-safe, the ability to vote is not the main issue. The main issue might be that human beings, for the most part, are followers, and that there are people with skill, but not necessarily benevolent people, who want to control and take control of whatever government there is, and that as democracies and the institutions of democracies weaken, it will become easier for them to do so. The issue of this presentation is not how do we save the US from dictatorship or autocracy. It's whether or not the shift of what's happening economically and what's happening technologically is making it more likely that the people that I would call very bright sociopaths or psychopaths will take control, whether that be human or non-human, whether it be artificial intelligence or some human intelligence or small groups of human intelligence, that may be happening no matter what we do with our voting system, because of the nature of the human species and how we are psychologically. And not only that, that because of all those issues and what's happening in terms of shrinking of the world down into extreme interdependence and instantaneous communication and analysis, these may become tools that allow those people who thrive on that power to take it globally and not just nationally. That's the trend that I see, and I don't want to get stuck talking about voting. Okay, I don't disagree with you, but it's not the level I want to think about, that I want to have this discussion.
Well, then I would suggest it is time for me to do a recap of my presentation on the moral molecule.
Yes, indeed.
Because,
by the way, Carol.
Yes.
I think that morality, okay, is at the core of what we're talking about here, and that I find it hard to see a moral molecule, if that's what you're talking about, in
oxytocin.
Okay, in the human being. I'm going to try to do it. Wait a second. Oxytocin. Yes. Okay. So this is what makes us happy to be alive and find meaning in our existence. Is that what oxytocin?
No, it's what makes us cooperative and empathic.
Oh, okay.
And
you think it can be turned up globally?
Overwhelmingly, because an analysis of oxytocin and its underlying bedrock of human nature tell us that a certain percentage of human beings are born without this capability for empathy and cooperation.
I think that's true.
Literally, they are born sociopaths.
Right. I think that's
true. It is
true.
also true that people who start out all right
can be shaped,
turned into sociopaths by a couple of means. One of them is extreme stress during childhood, and the other is consumption of large amounts of methamphetamine.
Mm-hmm.
And the important thing here is that it is possible to detect these people. You can do a blood test on somebody and say, this is a person who is a sociopath, or this is a person who is capable of empathy and cooperation.
Yep.
Okay, you can tell simply by doing a blood test. And that leads to all kinds of interesting notions about what the underlying human nature is.
Well, Carol, the underlying human nature that I'm seeing over the last 76, almost 77 years does not speak well to our moral molecule. But if in fact we will develop the capacity to alter our species in that way, and we can find the capacity to do that, that would be wonderful from my point of view. I do find that I'm the most empathetic and the most cooperative when I'm not under stress. When I'm under stress, I tend to be my way or the highway. And I imagine that might be true for very many people, but that's why this is a complex. That's why this is a complex type of.
Right. But I am suggesting that human nature is not a
fixed deal.
Yes, is not fixed, and that it divides into several different natures, one of which needs to be guarded against.
Interesting. Well, I say to you, go back, do a little more work on it, and come back again. I'd like to hear it.
Okay.
Okay. Next is Wayne. Then Dean. I'm sorry, it was Dean, and then Wayne.
Dean relinquished because he spoke out of turn. So Wayne.
Okay, good. Wayne.
Okay, thank you. Kind of a few random observations. AI is one of those things, to paraphrase Jerry Ford, an AI powerful enough to give us everything we want is powerful enough to take everything we have. And I'm not sure which scenario would occur. I mean, Musk has given a figure. There's a 80% chance it's going to be wonderful, but a 20% chance it's going to be horrible. And I'm thinking, gee, if I played Russian roulette, I still only have a 17% chance of a bad outcome. But on your particular question, that's intriguing. Because if the Chinese are already doing things with surveillance technology and AI that's a little bit scary. And what's worse is they're sharing this technology with certain of their friends in the Belt and Road Initiative, who are kind of dictatorships. Say, hey, we'll give this to you free because it's going to be monitoring people, and we like that as Chinese communists. So it is a distinct possibility, especially as we go further along with developing the technology, and then and who knows what will happen with the quantum computers with this. The trouble is, if it does occur, it might be very hard to overthrow it. They can monitor everything we do. And it wouldn't just be a surveillance of just passive stuff, but also doing statistical analysis. If this person did these 3 or 4 things, they're 10 times more likely to be a revolutionary or a troublemaker, and they could be quickly removed from society.
Or changed quickly. It may not take the kind of re-education that we imagine when we think of re-education in 1984 or something. It might be just basically a bowl of chicken soup with a chip in it. I don't know. I don't know.
I'm not going to have chicken soup today then. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with technology. If you don't have any moral constraints, you can do all sorts of things to persuade people. I mean, the communists were very good at just brutal methods, but there could be a lot more subtle ones too.
Yeah, the Americans can be just as brutal. And in fact, I have the belief, maybe erroneous, but I have the belief in something called evolution. And evolution tells me that we came from something before us, and that something before us was more like chimpanzees. And I don't think that chimpanzees, beyond their own really close, tight-knit group, are that moral or empathetic. And so, but again, if Carol's view of things is correct, and we can fend it that way, that would be wonderful. If the power structure allows us to do so. I don't know that we have such an all-consuming power structure now that we're beyond the pale, but I could be naive, but I hope not. Next is Dean, and then is David. Dean.
Yeah. So first of all, yeah, the chimpanzees eat other chimpanzees. Gorillas do not. Humans in general do not.
But that's because we're not hungry.
Right. Well, gorillas don't tend to kill each other. They threaten. Anyway, the American experiment, right, is a really radical, fragile experiment. And someone says, where do we get our values? Well, most of our values in the U.S. currently, it's changing, are European. And all societies have had their morality, Confucius and yada, 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 and Africa and all that. But, I've always believed that I'm Eurocentric, but that's my genetics. And the other thing was, you could scroll up. I am the antithesis of when the stuff hits the fan, people run. I am actually the opposite, and I have done that many, many times. I guess that's genetic.
Well, but your anecdotal values and experience are not an issue here, Dean.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that we are all different. And Carol said something about a blood test. I know that when they take psychopaths after they've been executed or died, and they cut their brains open, it's just physical. You can see it. They could say, "Oh, we could have predicted this guy was hardwired to be a psychopath, like a car that was hardwired to blow up." And I think, I think culling the herd is not a bad idea. It's what we've done. It's how we've domesticated animals by selective breeding and culling the herd, etc. And if we get to the point, and they're getting close to it, where they can do a amniocentesis, whatever it's called, or whatever.
Amniocentesis.
Yeah, whatever, and get the DNA, and they go, hey, we've identified the genes, the malformed genes that Darwin would take out in a heartbeat. Then it would be better for this person, this fetus, this embryo, this egg, if you will, fertilized egg, to cull the herd, so to speak. But yeah, and that's well, it's not iffy to me, but I see that overall as a good thing. I mean, how many children go unborn? I mean, abstaining from sex the Catholic way is children being unborn.
Thank you, Dean. David?
Would you consider...
Please do me a favor and speak louder and into your computer.
Would you consider stopping sharing? I would just as soon see faces.
We're having real trouble hearing you, David.
I can't hear a word you're saying.
He says you should stop.
But you look good, David.
He wants you to stop to share so you can see more faces on screen.
If you can read lips, I used to be pretty good.
David, I'm sorry. I like you, but I can't hear you, and I can't understand you. Otherwise, communication's good.
Well, that's not much good to me.
That's good, David. We can hear you now.
That's better.
I was suggesting you stop sharing your discuss slide so that I can see the other faces.
Oh, I see. I'm going to, David, I'm technologically not good, and I'm going to screw things up if I do this. Okay.
No, just go down to share and say stop sharing or somewhere. There's a button.
But
Stop.
then I have to get back into share. Can I do that?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Okay. You are sharing screen. Stop sharing. All right.
Hi.
Thank you.
Hi. You don't look as good anymore, David. I'm just kidding you. Do you want to
You
make
can
any
change
comments?
that.
Did you want to make any comments or?
Yeah, but I've forgotten what it was. You can
Ah,
change that in the view choice.
okay, you can come back. Tom, you're next.
Yeah, I have a couple things. One is that I believe humans have come to be the dominant species in many respects because we can cooperate in large groups. As you say, chimpanzees, gorillas, they have their small tribes they cooperate in, and then everyone else is an enemy. But as far as I know, we're the only species that can cooperate on like a national scale. I mean, we can't do it worldwide yet, but we can do projects, big projects that we could not have done otherwise if we had not been able to cooperate in large groups. Okay, that's one thing. The other thing is
Wait, let me ask you a question on that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's assume that that's true, and I actually do believe that that's true. That one of the reasons that we're the dominant species is that we have the ability to cooperate in a much more effective way than any other species. Okay. How does that change the dynamic of us being being subject to giving up our freedom for safety and order and giving up our power to autocrats?
I'm not sure those are opposing ideas. Autocrats still can command large groups. I don't think that's the best way to do things because quite often the people who want to be autocrats are the sociopaths. That's one of our main problems. So I guess I'm not sure I agree with the premise of your question.
Okay, what's your second point?
My second point was this idea of culling the herd to improve people, even fetuses that might have a tendency toward antisocial behaviors or something. Sounds like a good idea on the surface, but in the long run, I think it could be a very bad idea. And that's because we do need diversity. That's another thing that makes us strong. I mean, we're not all the same, and we want aggressive people to some extent, but we don't want sociopaths. So there's a real balance to be struck if you're going to start thinking along those lines, and it can lead to dangerous tendencies on the part of well-meaning people. So just a cautionary note there.
Yep.
I'm thinking of the culling of the herd that was done during the Second World War, and
Yep.
the whole idea of culling the herd gives me pause. But again, it might be possible to do it without nefarious people controlling the decision. We'll see, I guess, because it's probably going to be a possibility. Stan, you're next.
Well, regarding the issue of nationalism,
Yes.
came on strong. I mean, people weren't really considering nations as a entity in the 14th, 15th, 16th century. But around the time of the Industrial Revolution, nationalism became very strong. But I think that we've gone beyond that now because of our worldwide communications capability, especially with the cell phone and so forth and the internet. I think that it's easy to identify qualities in every nation that you can identify with. In other words, usually we'll say it's the power structure of China or the power structure of Russia that's problematic, but we empathize with the people of China and the people of Russia because there's the class distinction between the people who have the decisions making power and the people who suffer from those autocratic, and that's true across all nations. And I think that our ability, like Carol would say, to empathize with the suffering people in all of these nations, that we can identify with that. And I think that it makes, I mean, if you listen to the testimony of astronauts when they come back from space in regards to seeing that we are just one, entity, a holistic philosophy. I know that it's hard to sing Kumbaya with 8 billion people, but I think that's it's kind of Kantian. I'm going to say Kantian because I'm talking about Immanuel Kant and the idea of the categorical imperative. And if you were to say, well, what does that mean, categorical imperative? If you were explaining it to a 6-year-old, you would say, well, what if everybody did that? And that's what the categorical imperative is. And I think that we all have a moral compass, but it's what we are being stressed with. And I've been hearing the word stress a lot today. We tend to go for a reflex reaction. And we do things that we probably wouldn't want to do under a more less stressful condition.
Thank you, Stan. We have a lot of comments here. I'm going to go to someone who hasn't said a lot, which is Wayne.
Oh, yes. The kind of playing devil's advocate for a moment. I mean, we're all kind of assuming this universal dictatorship is a really bad thing, but I recall one of my teachers, a mathematician, was talking about nuclear war. He said any year there's only a very small chance that we would have a nuclear war, but over a long enough period of time, it's almost inevitable we would have a nuclear war as long as we have different powers with nuclear weapons. And if that's the case, would it be, if we knew for certain the next 50 years there would be a nuclear war that would destroy most of humanity and reduce the survivors to the Stone Age at best, would it be that bad to have a universal state with an AI controlling it to be sure that nuclear weapons aren't used and also other weapons of mass destruction?
It may not be. It may be a beautiful thing. It might be a beautiful thing if it's a human being that has the control. I think it's unlikely to be a beautiful thing if a human being has the control. I think there's a higher probability if artificial intelligence has the control, but unfortunately, we don't really know what artificial intelligence is. Okay, we don't actually understand its motivations, how it's making decisions, whatever sense of morality. We don't understand it. Is I know I don't understand it. I mean, I understand it broadly, okay, I understand what recursive reprogramming would mean, and how it could be done by artificial intelligence and make rapid progress on a bunch of different issues. But I don't know whether it will care about me, or my children or my grandchildren. But I hope it will. Does that make sense?
Well, I mean, that's always the problem with AI. What values will it have? And one AI researcher was telling me, we can't assume, well, what will AI do? Each AI may be different, just as human beings have different personalities. We can have very vastly different AIs. We could have good AIs and bad AIs. And it's unclear what will happen in such a circumstance. But my thing, going back to the AI or some sort of universal government is, I mean, we have problems with nuclear war. We don't seem to be working with global warming effectively to stop it. We have the debt crisis that I believe you alluded to the opening, where, I mean, almost every industrial country in the world has a huge debt to GDP. It's not just us. So we may be getting into problems that we as humans can't solve. We would need a AI to solve it for us. But who will guard the guardians of that case is the problem I have. It could be very good. It could be hell on earth. And I don't know which will occur.
No, nor I, Wayne. Ron just put in a little blurb that came across my screen that in certain circumstances, universities are teaching, are encouraging sociopathy through what they're teaching. Is that right, Ron? Did I read that correctly? Ron?
Ron's not here.
He is here, but
I don't see him. Oh, there he is.
Okay. Well, Ron, whether you speak or not, that would be an interesting subject for a futurist. A futurist meeting. How are universities promoting sociopathy? I'd come to that and be even more depressed than I am. So go ahead, Ron. That'd be good. Let's see. Next is I'm going to say it's Carol, and then Tom, and then Tom, and then Dean, and then we'll go to a video. Although I'd be willing to keep talking about this. The videos all relate to what we're talking about here, and they are interesting in and of themselves, but they're not as interesting as our thoughts. So I would prefer to keep a discussion going as long as there's energy for it. So
are you calling on me at this point?
Yes, I am, Carol.
Okay. Well, first of all, I would like to strongly suggest that when you are talking about culling the herd, you're making all sorts of ridiculous assumptions. We have no real indication that the tendency towards sociopathy is inherited.
Wrong.
No, I know that you talk.
No, you don't interrupt during a conversation, Eric. Okay.
I know you
raise
have
your
talked
hand
about
and I'll
a
call
very
on you.
specific case of psychopathy, which is different from sociopathy. Okay? A psychopath is not a sociopath. A psychopath implies
Could be both.
a break with reality. A sociopath is simply someone who has got real serious emotional problems. How they think, rather than the fact that their thinking doesn't necessarily correlate with reality. They're not hearing voices. But at any rate, with the point that I wanted to make is that you do not have to abort babies to cull the herd, and it won't do much good because the tendency toward being a sociopath is not heritable. Now, it is possible to cull the herd simply by saying, okay, people, we do a blood test on everyone, and people who show up as sociopaths are denied admittance to certain professions. They can't run for elected office. They can't be in the army or the police, but they are perfectly free to become lawyers or social workers.
Lawyers.
Computer programmers.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, that would be a way of culling the herd without going in and aborting people, which wouldn't do any good anyway.
You're right, of course, on that. So you're right that we don't have to necessarily put them into gas chambers to cull the herd in this instance. In fact, using the term cull the herd may not be the best term to use. So who's Barbara?
Oh, Barbara, you know her. Shows up every once in a while because she ends up with a job that sends her out of town. Went to MIT, as I recall, Barbara.
Okay.
Yes,
Barbara.
thank you. That's me, and I do only show up periodically, although I'm not working any longer because of the whole government debacle. But
Are you working any shorter?
I wish I were working.
Yeah, but I mean,
But
Bob, I
anyway.
remember Barb from our
Face to face.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you are, Barbara. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry. Thank you.
Okay. Do you want to talk? You want to raise your hand? I saw a blurb come across.
No, I'm just blurbing.
All right. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So we'll go to the next person who is, and thank you, Carol. I think it was Tom Treitz. I see your hand up. You don't have to keep your hand up, Dean. Although it's a beautiful hand. Tom.
Yeah, I have two things. Under lots of people's ideas for rational culling, I wouldn't be here, so no thank you. We do a form of cultural planning, pruning, by religious training. And to a certain extent, we also create things with cultural training. Britain is having a real problem right now with immigrants who males think they should impregnate any 8-year-old female walking down the street.
They're having a rape problem? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, they are.
Mm-hmm.
There was a famous or infamous case last week where a 14-year-old was arrested by the police for carrying an axe and a butcher knife to protect her little sister from a gang that were hell-bent on raping both of them.
Tom, as strange as this may seem, okay, that comment actually relates to the entire gestalt of what I'm talking about here. So,
related. Tell us about it.
This is a clash of two things. The young lady wants to defend her family, and herself. And the young male wants to forward his religion, I suppose, or something. He thinks that my understanding is that he thinks it is his duty to do this. And that's going to be a horrible conflict. And the British society is having a real problem with it because they thought they were doing, this is one of these things where you think you're doing the right thing and they're doing the good thing, and it turns out that ooh, maybe we shouldn't have done that.
Is this more than anecdotal? Is this a kind of a systematic? Is this a big picture or one instance?
It was one instance, but when they arrested the girl, it became a cause célèbre.
Okay.
And I invite you to go to the BBC and look for it.
Okay. And I might have interrupted you in the middle. Is there anything that I cut you off?
Oh,
on?
it's just we tend to think other people think and feel like we do. And that's just not the case. I had no problems with mathematics through the high parts of calculus, but lots of people I know struggle literally with 7th grade algebra.
They struggle.
And it's people are different in many ways.
Individuals are different from one another in many ways.
Yes. But groups of people are also different. The people living in downtown Minneapolis, 57th Precinct Democrats, are very different than the Democrats living in Waseca County.
You're going too far for me, but thank you.
Anyway.
Okay. I don't know where we are here, Tom. Do you have any idea of the count?
Well, it's either Dean or me.
I'll say it's you.
I know Dean's had his hand up quite a while.
Okay, I'll say it's Dean.
Bob hates me. And Bob,
I don't hate you, but you are verbose.
No, I am. Yeah. And this is where my professor would say, Dean, I'm not calling you anymore. See me right after.
No, I'm not at that point. I'm not at that point.
But you know, I know I hit a hot button when I said culling the herd. And I've said it before when you weren't here. The Holocaust is something that has haunted me for 70 years. I could not understand it as a 7-year-old, 6-year-old. I cannot understand it today. But they were not scientifically, they were not looking at the brains of these people that they were getting rid of. In fact, they were setting the world back probably 50 years in terms of the brain power that they. Anyway, I wanted to respond to Carol. We have been culling the herd as humans for 200,000 years, and as primates for 2 million years. It's called selective breeding. It's who we choose to mate with, and that is classic. You know, it's not culling the herd; it's creating the herd. It's selective breeding, and we have been doing that as a species for 200,000 years, and so women select a guy who is aggressive enough, but will be a good daddy to the children and hang around, and that is the dichotomy of our combination of we are successful as humans because we have the power for aggression when it's necessary to protect the clan, the country, the world, whatever you want to call it. And then yet we also want people who are going to nurture children. And, when I'm saying, take a look at someone's brain, then you give the parents the choice and say, well, this, Down syndrome, it's done hundreds of thousands of times in this country. This kid has a whatever chance of Down syndrome, and parents will make the decision that's okay, or parents will make the decision, I don't think that I can successfully raise this person. And you could do the same thing with, I'm not talking sociopaths, I'm talking psychopaths, and they can cut Jeffrey Dahmer's brain open and they go, Jesus Christ. I mean, you can see it on a slide. I have seen it.
You are correct there.
I don't want to have an in-depth discussion of the difference between sociopathy and psychopathy. Okay.
All right, Tom, go.
Okay.
Tom Walton, go.
Tom.
Okay, I want to get back to the idea of universal rule and AI control that we were talking about 10 minutes ago. Universal rule is not necessarily bad, not necessarily good. I mean, I forget which Greek philosopher it was. At least one of them had a construction of different forms of government. And the top one, the best one, was the philosopher king, who ruled for the good of everybody.
Right.
And the worst was the dictator who ruled for the good of himself. Okay, and between there you had oligarchies and democracies and things like that.
Name a philosopher king.
Oh geez, who was it? Way back about 3,000 years ago, there was one. Who somewhere in the middle.
It's hard to come up with that damn philosopher king. It's easy to come up with the dictator, but it's not so easy to come up with that doggone philosopher king.
That's kind of the point I was getting.
In my family, it was my mother, but that's a small group. So
and then someone suggested that AIs could do better. What we need for that is AI to have a relationship with us. I think within the next 25 or 30 years, AI will become super intelligence, much, a million times smarter than any given human being. Whatever you consider being smart is. But as they grow and develop their own abilities and goals, they have to be somehow consonant with human well-being. Otherwise, we're in for a really tough future if we have any at all. I used to think when I was younger, way back in college, when I was idealistic and all that, that the only thing that could unite humans on the planet is a threat from outside, like some alien race coming and threatening to wipe out humanity or make us slaves or whatever, or food or whatever. But I think that's not even true now. Because there's going to be a lot of people who will want to go over to the other side and cooperate with the aliens now and things like that.
That's true.
I don't think there's anything that can totally unite humans. There's always going to be conflict among us. We somehow.
But Tom, is there anything that could virtually suppress humans to their own benefit? All humans.
Carol was implying that maybe chemically we could, by checking out the amygdala or changing certain hormone productions and that kind of thing, I think. I'm not sure that's a real solution. So I don't know. I've been getting more pessimistic over the last decade at least, and considering the state we're in now, that hasn't helped. one thing, I'm maybe getting a little off track here, but Americans used to think we were kind of the chosen people, American exceptionalism. That's still a kind of a very prominent thing in our society. And that's to some extent led to where we are now. And I think that's to our detriment. So,
I think that nationalism is one of the most powerful forces in the world, and I think that my vision of a more likely global suppressive type of dictatorship will be mostly buffeted by nationalism. Okay, I don't see Ukrainians giving up their identity easily to the Russians. I don't see the Canadians wanting to become our 51st state. And I don't see the Americans want to giving up on their belief that they have something exceptionally going. Though I think they do have some things that are exceptionally going, not necessarily what they think. But I think that is a very strong force. Nationalism is a very strong force, and maybe the thing that protects us from this global takeover. Mind control is going to be a very, very difficult thing to overcome. And the force of power and the threat of damage to an individual who's not necessarily brave is going to be a difficult thing for our species. But nationalism might help us.
well, I want to bring that one step further. Nationalism is a fairly recent phenomenon, and someone else said earlier, maybe the last couple 100 years. Before it was city-states and that type of thing. We didn't think on that big a scale before that.
What?
Except people who wanted to dominate, like the Mongolians or whatever. Yeah, nationalism is strong, but what nation states are now losing out to international corporate states. And I think that's going to eventually become the dominant governmental structure. Not too long from now, sometime mid-century.
So you see, and I think there's some validity to this, that this sort of global corporation will become akin to what a nation is today, and maybe combines of global corporations might be akin to what a nation is today. Interesting. I can see that happening.
Okay. Nations will still exist, but the corporate entities, the worldwide corporate entities, will be more powerful.
Interesting. I'm going to go to Eric because he hasn't spoken yet.
I'm sorry, but Bob, you really stunned and depressed me when you asked Tom if that one instance of rape in Britain that he cited was it just one anecdote or one off, or
that's my job, Eric.
But no, your job is to. This makes me wonder what, if any, sources of information you regularly follow, if any, besides the mainstream media in America. The people of Britain, the native Brits are up, right? They don't know what to do, but they're desperately rioting and demonstrating in great numbers now against the Islamic rape gangs that their governments and rulers keep importing by the millions, and they're on the verge of civil war. Are you not aware of that?
I have to admit that I am not. I am so focused right now in spending time dealing with my body and becoming more physically fit and blah, 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 that I've become kind of lost in that addiction, Eric. And I haven't spent as much time as I might keeping aware of those kinds of things. Thank you.
Oh, well, yeah, it's good. Everybody should.
But you don't have to be depressed. I'm educatable.
Well, just if it could start, just look at the Minneapolis and New York. I mean, overt, open socialist Islamics. Just, if anything, fine. Everybody should, their health should be a priority, but it's just, don't need more than a couple hours a day to find out what's really known. I don't think. And then, if anything, just read the politically incorrect guide to Islam, and then you don't believe that. Read the Quran itself in an accurate translation, not a distorted one. They repeat most of their main points over and over in case you don't get it the first 2 or 3 times. And yes, the leftards will point to compassionate, tolerant verses in the Quran, but that's easily explained. When Muhammad was starting out and he was a weak minority and the others beat on him and persecuted his group, he was all for live and let live and tolerance and religious tolerance and so on. That was as in was it Medina period. And then when he became dominant, then he just switched. And so they explain that. The Quran is so weird. It's not really in chronological order. But anyway, they have a clear doctrine they'll agree on that when Allah contradicts himself, you're supposed to believe the one that is allegedly revealed most recently to Muhammad, which is all, is spreading and enforcing Islam everywhere above all.
So it's your conclusion that I have some work to do with regards to my understanding of this stuff.
Well, I think everything most Americans, the whole Western world does.
I promise you, I'll do some of that work, Eric. Thanks for bringing it to my attention.
Okay.
Next is Stan. Don't yawn, Stan. Right in the.
According to my screen, I'm third. I've got Wayne and David ahead of me.
Okay, Wayne, go ahead.
Yes. Going back a moment to Carol's point, I was not aware that there was a blood test or whatever, for psychopathy and sociology, those things. But I recall decades ago reading a science fiction story where such a test was postulated for the future. And it created some problems because you would have the case, let's say a person tests positive for this, and following Carol's reasonable suggestion they should be barred from law enforcement, politics, and certain other things. The counter argument would be, well, no test is going to be infallible. So you're going to be punishing a whole group of people for something that to prevent them from doing something that which only a few of them would actually do. And I'm not sure what the legal implications of all that would be. I mean, in the story they had it, well, if a person had these tested positive like this, they couldn't be held legally responsible. So some of the people went.
I await Carol's presentation. So
it's an interesting question. I'm going to have to do some research on that. I was not aware of it. That's it for me.
Okay, thank you, Wayne. So next would be David.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to deal with nationalism, but we have problems at every level, and kind of like Occam's razor, I would prefer to deal with the problems at the lowest level that they can be managed. And that's just a personal preference, I think, that an engineering trade-off, if you will. It's fairly apparent to me that there are problems that are not dealt with well at a national level. And I'm reminded of climate chaos and nuclear weapons and actually weapons of mass destruction and how nations engage in war. And those problems can't really be dealt with at a community level or even a state level. Especially in a unipolar world, it's not clear how everyone else should deal with the hegemon, if there is one. And I believe the United States was in that position from 1993 till about 2005 or 2000, somewhere in 2000 to 2010. We were the global dominant power. And we threw our weight around as we are wont to do when we can manage it. But I'm kind of reminded of my recollection of a book called Planethood that talked about the 13 colonies dealing with inter-colony trade and coming together with a, at that point, radically untested proposal of a two legislature, one that was by size and the other that was equal. And that compromise worked well enough, mostly, for almost 200 years. It didn't work well, but it did work sort of. And so the potential is that if we were to come together with an international body that didn't give particularly powerful countries veto power, that has not worked particularly well in the United Nations, but that had some mechanism for giving everybody a say and not riding roughshod over the small countries, potentially we might be able to negotiate some solutions to some of these international problems that can't be dealt with at a smaller level. And it's not clear to me how we're going to deal with what you'd kind of call unfair advantages. There's clearly issues of scale where bigger countries have advantages over little countries. And especially if you allow well, it depends on what kinds of warfare we're going to encourage or to allow. Nuclear warfare essentially encourages potential terrorism. The threat of nuclear weapons seems to deter the use of nuclear weapons.
So far.
So far, yeah. Well, and it's fairly obvious that we've spent, according to at least one group that keeps track, the last 30 years, 90 seconds away from nuclear midnight. We're basically trying to balance on a knife edge with regard to nuclear weapons. And are we going to be able to continue that? Well, that's not obvious. Our nuclear weapon is weapons of mass destruction an appropriate way to wage war? A lot of us who are not in the military think probably not. But how would we get nuclear-powered countries, nuclear-capable countries, to agree to forego those weapons? Because they're not useful in warfare, but they are very useful in destroying the capability for warfare. In other words, civilian populations or manufacturing capabilities and so on. It looks to me like the possibilities for future peace are not really very good. And nuclear weapons are not even really the worst possibility. As we develop more and more medical technology, it looks to me like bioterrorism is an even more likely knife edge to fall off of. The costs are significantly less. The technological difficulty is significantly less.
So I shouldn't get my COVID booster?
Well, actually, the COVID boosters are...
See, I keep making these comments, okay, and I'm trying to
technological
deliver some humor into what is a very depressive subject, and everybody keeps taking me seriously. Okay, who's next?
course.
Who's next?
I think Stan.
I'm going
Stan?
to respond to the idea that nationalism has been replaced by corporations, international corporations. I think that
Not yet, but it's getting there.
And I think of several reasons. Some good examples of that would be the communications technologies and the international trade, the shipping technologies. And I know that Apple, for example, has been spending, I think, like $55 billion a year in China. And there's a book about China and Apple where they're claiming that Apple has virtually funded the technological capability of China to increase its manufacturing capacity in terms of all of the nuances that they need to know the people need to know to make things like cell phones, Foxconn and so forth. And I think that Google and Microsoft and any of those corporations, and maybe even Walmart. I saw something just the other day that Walmart is going to roll out some kind of a charging system for America's highways to compete with Tesla as far as providing charging stations for electric cars. So I think that we have sort of shifted, but I know that the idea of moving towards industrial corporate entities was a symbol of the Second World War in fascism, which turned into fascism. And I know that that also is what kind of causes the income inequality, because the corporations, the 1%ers or whatever, seem to be the ruling class as well as the wealthy class. We have a way of just kind of not being able to discern the difference. One sidebar I'm going to say about this is it really bothered me the whole time that I was watching the last election. As a Democrat, I was being deluged with the idea that I could fund I could provide funding to make a difference in the election. And so all of a sudden, money became more important than your will to vote for something or have an idea for what you want to vote for. You got to pay for it. So it's commodifying the will of the people. And I think that you also have your idea of corporations having the rights of an individual with Citizens United. Tom, I know one thing that I being a Vonnegut fan, I remember back in the 70s, the Sirens of Titan was this idea that the world would only come together if it was attacked from outside. And so he kind of faked it by having a bunch of pirates going to the moon and coming back to the world in an attack from outer space, to unite the world, the world nations and so forth. But I guess in summary, I'm just thinking about, we tend to, I am a victim. Dean will make this point real clearly. For Apple, I use iOS. Do I believe it's superior to Android? Kind of. I think it's maybe more secure. I remember when I read in a Playboy magazine back in '84, Steve Jobs made the case that Apple was using geniuses that make things that geniuses could use. And whereas IBM would go out and take surveys of all the clients and customers to find out what they wanted. And
I believe I've lost total control of this presentation.
Yeah, we have people doing 5 or 10 minute speeds here. We need to limit the time.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm timing on my Apple Watch. Verbosity, the definition of verbosity. I'm going to time myself if I'm next. Am I next?
Are you next?
I am.
Okay, go ahead, Dean.
And I'd love listening to Stan. One-on-one, we talk over each other. I'll try to make this quick. Nationalism is an extension of clanism, tribalism, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then, Bob, I want to ask you a question, because Stan always throws this in my face, and it was thrown in H-Tom's face. Oh, that's anecdotal. All right. When you're dealing with society, give me the fine line or the 4-bit grayscale difference between anecdotal and empirical. You can't run experiments on society. Aliens can do that. Maybe AI can do that, but we can't. So where is the line between anecdotal? If you get enough,
well, let me ask you a question. Okay, if you have one thing that takes place and it becomes a cause celeb, is that a national trend? Okay, it is not a national trend.
I'm not talking cause celeb.
If you have multiple things that are taking place in the same vein, and you can make a rational case, like Eric believes that he can, that is an outflowing of a religion that of some kind of religious beliefs, and you can make that case and you can point to it repetitively again and again and again, I think it's then becoming a systematic problem. It's not empirical.
Well, yes, but it involves a clash between ideologies, a clash between mores, a clash between whatever. But
not if it's one case of rape, but if it's multiple cases of rape.
Exactly.
Okay, that is a systematic problem that's happening within a society. It's not empirical.
All right, I'll grant you that. But France, and I know this, France basically has said, we'll give Marseille to Islam. And, they would almost prefer building a wall around autonomous rule. You guys do what you want to do down in Marseille or over in Marseille. No, there's a real cultural clash in Europe because of, you think we have immigration problems. I mean, conflict.
So are all these immigration problems, all these ideological differences that are boiling up and fermenting in front of us, okay? Do you see them as part of a falling apart of foundational world institutions that make the possibility of strong centralized governments more likely? And if strong centralized governments are more likely, is it always true that they're going to be benevolent, or can they also be more malevolent than they are benevolent? That's the point of, at least one of the point of what I tried to bring onto the table, okay? I don't think there are answers to this. I know that some people believe they have strong answers. I don't believe that I have strong answers, okay? But I do think they are questions worth asking, and it's worth giving as much thought and study as you can conceive to doing that, because I like to understand what the hell's going on and what I'm living in as long as I'm living in it. And I think that's probably true for the rest of you too.
And you've taken up 2.5 minutes of my 5 minutes, and I appreciate that. But you know, we went through that in this country with immigration all through the years, right? We got the Italians, oh, they're bad people. No, they're not. We got the Irish, oh, they're bad people. We got the Eastern Europeans, the Slavs, oh, they're bad people. But you know, assimilation takes time, and you know, there are people now that do not want to assimilate. There's a group up in Van Nuys, north of LA, who are 100% Chinese speaking, and they don't give a damn. And they're great citizens, but they don't want to assimilate. They choose not to assimilate.
And what is the implications of that?
I'm not sure. If you want good food, that's where you go. But yeah, I'm just not sure. But it's the rapidity. It's the rapidity.
Look at Miami and the Cubans.
Yeah. Oh, I've lived in Miami for 3 months.
Right.
And yeah. Anyway, I'll shut up. But yeah, the world is not only smaller and flatter, and you know, it's more rapid, as in people can move about, and yeah, it's a real problem. And the real problem is there are too many. You know, I actually am one who have hoped for a nuclear war for 50 years or more, because
No.
I think we are overpopulated.
I don't want to go there.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Okay. Who's next?
Carol.
Who's next? Carol.
Yay, Carol. Okay, I would like to make a point for Eric. You talk about, you know, Islam taking over and things. The U.S. Constitution has a fugitive slave clause in it. You know, that wonderful foundation of our democracy and everything else.
What are you referring to? What's it got to do with Islam?
Elucidate, please.
I am saying that our foundational documents have the same sort of flaws in them that you are talking about for the foundational documents of Islam.
See, and what I want the conversation to be is to accept the fact that no matter what foundational documents a society is based on, there's going to be significant flaws and there's going to be significant arguments between them. Some may be more repulsive than others, but there's going to be flaws and there's going to be problems and there's going to be conflicts, okay? And all this leads to societies that are more violent, and people tend to want to give up their freedom for safety and for order. And as long as that is true, we'll tend to have strong people taking the helm, and some of them will be sociopaths, and some of them will not give up control, but keep it for as long as they can, and will not necessarily be malevolent. They might be malevolent, and that as technology is increasing in its power to make us all one big unhappy family, both economically and socially, that the potential for global takeover is increasing. And the tools that we're defining are going to make that easier for the power structure that wants to do that. I do not want to have an argument about whether or not Muslim or Islam is better than the Constitution and a flaw in this Constitution. And when the Jews were in the shtetl, they killed a Russian, and the Russians came and did this to that. That's not what this is about. Okay? Think bigger. Think bigger. Okay? Accept the fact that there are going to be differences. Some of them are going to be extremely offensive to people. What are the implications of all of that big soup that we're living in when we were becoming more technologically powerful, and we're becoming more interdependent as a world? You know, that's what this is supposed to be about, and not whether or not these other things are true. They're all probably all true to a greater or lesser degree. But that's subtext. That's subtext. The larger text is where are we going as a species? That's what this is supposed to be talking about. You know, I think the idea of talking about morality is an important issue that underpins all this, but one particular view of one particular thing or the other is not. That's always been the case. It's going to be the case. Where are we going with all this mix when technology is rapidly increasing and we don't even understand the technology that we're creating? That's what this is supposed to be about, if I can do it in a short period of time. We now have been going on for so long that I'm a little exhausted. Can I take this up on the next time I'm?
Well, Bob, we still have over 20 minutes. And
Okay.
my remark, I think I'm next, was basically going to be what you just said. This is supposed to be about the impact of new technologies, AI, and maybe in particular you had in mind, and the likely future realities that will result from them.
That's
and,
right.
I would like to get back to that, as you say. And I'm wondering if you have a particular video that addresses that. In, you know.
Well, I don't. I have some short videos that are interesting. One is on mass formation, which I think is an important issue on what can happen to human beings under stress. There are two 25-minute ones that are very interesting, especially the one on smartphones and what they've done to society. I guess if I was going to try to play one, let me go back to share so I can review what they are. Can you hold on a second?
Sure.
Share.
I'm looking at your list, Bob. I can pull up whatever you want me to pull up.
Okay, that's it. That's good, of course, but let me look at them. Okay, so we got America's Book of Secrets. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so let's go with just two short ones, okay? America's Book of Secrets, it's 5 minutes, and then right after it, Mass Formation Psychosis, which is 3 minutes, and then we can talk about that. Okay? Does that work for you, Stan?
Yeah. I'm bringing up the secrets.
How long before I see results with Tai Chi? Day 3, you'll feel your energy. Day 7, your eyes will change. Day 20.
Okay, for Stan to be able to show these, you have to stop sharing, Bob.
I have to stop sharing. Okay. Okay.
Here it comes.
There is another 25-minute that we don't have time for that goes into specifically what's happening both to our adults, but specifically to our youths, since the smartphone development of the smartphone, and it's startling. So do we want to have a short conversation about this? Oh, people have raised their hand.
Yeah,
Okay, who's first?
My hand is still up, and I just want to make a short comment.
Okay.
That first video about DARPA made it seem like a sinister organization.
May what?
Sinister organization. It had this sinister tone to it, and it is not. In fact, it probably did initiate all this research into BCI, brain computer interfaces, but a lot of corporations are doing that now, including
Yes.
Elon Musk Corporation and so forth. And we do have to be careful where that's heading, because yes, it can be great benefits to people. We can have instantaneous communication between people, between groups of people. We could have access to all the information in the world at the tip of our brain. But it's also possible to hack systems like that too, and control other people. So, but any new technology like this, we really have to be cognizant of the minuses, the possible minuses, as well as the pluses. And I think that's relative to the topic of this particular presentation. New technologies can be of great benefit to people, but it also can be to great detriment. And people who want to develop these things at all costs, I think, are being short-sighted. We have to have controls on how we approach these things. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay, let's go to Barbara since she hasn't spoken.
Thank you. I was actually trying to put it in the chat, and it's just too hard to text on my phone. I think to answer your question, how will things change as technology progresses in this manner that you're presenting? I think the very obvious thing is religion will go away. I mean, there's no need to have anyone trying to drill into you security and order as a preference in society, which is one of the things I believe that religion does for people or for society, or thinks that they do. That's just my comment.
Barbara, I am not a great supporter of organized religion, or for that matter of fact, any religious beliefs. I'm pretty much a secularist. I don't know, however, if what you're saying is going to be true, but it'd be fun to find out. So I'm along for as much of that journey as I can have. Thank you. Thank you, Barbara.
Thanks.
Who's next? Anybody?
Stan.
Okay. Stan?
Well, I just wanted to point out, I'm not a huge Freud advocate, but I did post in the chat what I see as being the cause of all of this discussion is we have a sense of ambivalence about things. Everybody with the love-hate relationship that you have with everybody that you know. And it could be your mom and your dad, or your brothers or your sisters or your children. All of these people, all these relationships that you have, there's good and bad in that. You know, never can be good all the time. You never can be bad all the time. There's always going to be a oscillation. I can take a movie camera and take a picture of you jumping on a trampoline, and after a couple of minutes, I can show a film of you floating in space. So or I can show a film of you causing the trampoline to be in a constant dip, or I can show you a picture of yourself standing on the trampoline and it's not even bending. That's the way. And when it comes to marketing, you can do the same thing when you market people. Well, that's how you market campaigns or candidates. You show them in their good times and so forth. And if so yeah, I think that's going to be a long-standing, never-ending situation. It's like a professor of mine once said, a thermometer will say that it's 72 degrees, but you still might feel cold or you still might feel hot. So your attitudes and your feelings and tertiary responses to what can be seen as being objective is variable.
Thank you, Stan. We'll go to David and then Dean and then H-Town. And then we're done. Barb, I cut you off. Did you want to speak again, Barb? Or did you just keep your hand up?
Oh, I'll lower my hand. Thank you.
Okay. David?
There are a couple of books that I would like to suggest with regard to issues of nationalism.
Mm-hmm.
Erica Chenoweth is a professor and has written and done studies on civil resistance, which is a potential possible candidate for keeping some of these governmental and corporate interests under control. Apparently, they've a rating system for governments from +10 to -10. And it turns out that civil resistance doesn't get violent in the +5 to 10 and the -5 to -10 range. It's the middle range of
It's the middle range of that range. Well, that's interesting.
right. The dictatorships keep
So at -8, people don't tend to do civil resistance.
Right. The dictatorships manage resistance.
He's got so much control then that there's nothing, or they do.
And the democratic organizations, they feel like they don't have to resort to violence to affect the direction of the country.
That's interesting.
But in that range in between -5 and +5 is where you tend to see violence occurring.
Thank you, David.
Her studies suggest some interesting correlations.
Okay, I'm going to go to the next person, Dean.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I'm on mute. Yeah. Good luck with getting rid of religion. I mean, religion was invented when we became human, and I've argued for a couple of decades we redefine religion, and I believe in this country and the first world, consumerism is our religion, and the Mall of America is the tabernacle.
Thank you, Dean. Tom Trites, H-Tom?
A couple of things, but all about next week.
Okay.
I am the presenter, and it's going to be about the future of music. And I'm going to talk about legalities and technology and the discovery of analyzing music with technology and what's new.
Okay, thank you. All right, thanks, guys. I'm gonna go eat lunch.
Great videos, great discussion. Thank you, Bob.
Thanks,
Take
Bob.
care.
Yeah,
Very
Bye.
good.
thank you, Bob.
You bet.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye
Bob,
bye.
would you consider posting your list of videos that you didn't show with the
Posting it
notes
where?
for this meetup?
Well, it would be on. Oh, it's not. Yeah, I'll post it to Meetup. Okay.
I'm sorry my alarm didn't go off. That's why I'm very late. But I'll watch your rerun of your presentation if Stan gets it up on YouTube.
I'll be putting it up on YouTube, and I'll put the links in there too.
Okay. Well, Stan.
How do we how do we see it on YouTube? What is it under?
Futurists, Minnesota Futurists.
I'm
Thank-
going to leave now, guys.
Thank you. Bye, Bob.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Bob.
Bye.
Okay. Thank you.
Wow, good stuff.
Yep. Okay, see you next week.